Mountain, Island, Lightning Bolt, Spell Pierce, Switchblade, Stab Wound, Red Mage, Blue Mage.
Yep, we're live.
Yeah.
I was just watching you doing like Naruto poses or whatever the heck.
I was thinking more like the Ginsu, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. The fighting force.
Yes, exactly.
We're on Namek. It's gonna explode.
That's what I was thinking of.
We're live, and now I have sound. You can hear me, and we're talking about how I'm on Namek, and that's why you couldn't hear me, because I was all the way on Namek.
Your background.
Yes, what about it?
You have a green screen now, I can see.
I do have a green screen now. This is true.
Your blue shirt, a little, like, the sleeve over here is kind of interfering, but it's not bad.
You know, it's because I don't have really good lighting, but that's fine. Well, future purchases in the future to make it better, but for now, it doesn't really matter. It kind of helps with the fact that, like, I do live in a dingy, dark place anyway, because up here we have my conspiracy board.
Right.
For all of the things that I believe in magic. I don't know where I got this image from. I'm sorry, I cannot credit anybody. I just went Google, it said conspiracy board. Sorry, artist. I'll look you up and try find it.
And not give credit later.
The thing says, a neuroscientist explains what conspiracy theories do to your brain.
I would love to know, so I could know more about what has been done to your brain.
Google it. I don't know, whatever. Okay, anyway.
Red Mage, Blue Mage.
Yeah, that's that show that we do regularly, every Tuesday. Come hell or high water, we're always here, every Monday.
Like the postal
clockwork.
service. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Like a clockwork postal service every single week.
Yep.
We do our best, all right?
Nobody cares.
You make me so sad.
Why?
I don't know. Thank you, Josh. Thank you. Jeez. Josh cares.
Whatever.
All right. Anyway.
Yep.
Getting to the show. I want to talk to the podcast listeners right now. Just to let you know, on Tuesdays, we record at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/geekspective. We're there most Tuesdays. We're not there every Tuesday. Check out our Twitter, at RedBlueMTG, just to keep up with things. But we try to record every week. We've put out... I was thinking about this. Completely separate podcast I was listening to.
Right.
One of the hosts was asked the question, what is like a big accomplishment that you're like proud of over the past year? And it just made me think of, for myself, what am I proud of? And literally one of the first things that came to my mind was this podcast. Like, we have produced and put out this podcast every week for over a year now. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly on you, so it is your accomplishment.
Yeah.
Not anything to do with me. I just show up and kind of like...
It's not...
fart on air.
It has something to do with you.
Okay, maybe a little bit. I am a part of the show.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yes. But yeah, when did we start?
We started in something... I think we started recording in January of 2019. And then we started putting out episodes in February of 2019.
Cool.
That may not be exact, but it's pretty close.
Dang. And now we're streaming.
I just finished editing episode 76 or something like that. Like,
you're disgusting.
I know. I love it.
Let's talk about other disgusting things. Let's talk about magic.
Perfect. Do you have music queued up, by the way?
What music would you like?
Well, we have a segment coming up where we are discussing the flavor of a certain town.
Okay, yep, here we go.
All right. Oh yeah, welcome to Flavor Town, home of the creamiest flavors inside the Berlin. I can't run, it is the Lurgoy. I can't hear it, so I don't know when it's ending.
It's done.
Okay, perfect.
You were perfect. You're actually perfect timing.
Oh, good. All right, so we kind of have a two-parter today.
Okay.
Single episode, 2 segments. They're both linked, though, thematically. And I wanted to start by talking about the current state of affairs with the Magic storyline.
Okay.
So M21 just came out. So time of recording, it's July 7th. M21 came out. As far as I know, it has nothing to do with the ongoing storyline. There are no threads that have been put out there.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's just a bunch of dogs.
Yeah, dogs, cats, living together, mass hysteria.
It's crazy.
Nothing, I don't think, unlike right before War of the Spark, where they were pushing a story in the core set, that's not happening here. So the last we've seen of the Magic story is Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths. I have done extensive research and found every scrap of information I could about the Magic story in Ikoria.
Do you want me to talk about it at all, or
yes,
do you just want to talk about it?
No,
I just listen.
I want to lead off with everything you know or suspect or believe about Ikoria.
1, power dynamics.
Okay.
Why the heck are they taking animals and making them be friends? Is this a consensual thing? I don't think so. Are all these animals sentient and can make the decisions to bond? What the heck's up with that? 2, I don't know. There's a shark or something. Dolphins. Oh yeah, that too.
Right.
To me, it just doesn't seem like actually engaging as a story. Like, to me, there's nothing about Ikoria. It could have been M21 with cats and dogs for all I care, because who's like the guy? Who's like the girl? Who's like the they? Who knows? I don't know. And all I think about and can care about is a giant shark and the dolphin that is called a whale. And other than that, and also like the mechanics and stuff, like I played a draft and I played a little bit on Arena.
Right.
And even like at least with Fairy Tale Land.
Oh, train.
Shh. You need to let me remember things, because my memory is getting really bad. But yeah, Eldraine had like cool food tokens and like interesting things to me as far as story wise.
Sure.
I mean, and maybe that's just the thing, is like I'm not interested in kaiju big battle. Like maybe if there was mechs.
But I was gonna say you definitely are though. Like you loved Pacific Rim.
Yes, but I don't want to Pacific Rim become drift compatible with an otter.
I see.
I don't care about animals. You heard it here, folks. I don't care about animals.
You liar.
Shut up. You don't know me.
But you're saying you don't want those two things to cross over.
No, you can ride an otter if you want.
Okay. So you're not saying anything.
I'm saying lots of things that just don't have meaning. So
there's a fine line between those two.
I'm just, like I said, there's nothing about it that really engaged me. It's not part of the main storyline because we're done with the War of, like, you'd think that the next thing would be continuing on, like, the whole Theros, Ashiok, what's her face, kind of like
Elspeth
stuff or something. But now, no, who's the dude? Who's the people? Who do we care about?
Right. That's the key thing. Like,
who do I care about?
Protagonists, antagonists. What do I care about any of this that's going on?
Right.
Okay, cool.
That's it. That's all I know about Ikoria.
I'm glad you brought up Eldraine, because I want to bring that up later on as well. So we will discuss that. You said with Ikoria, I'm also glad you brought up your draft that you did.
Right.
I don't remember. I don't know if you remember this card from your draft. I certainly do. Do you remember drafting the Ozolith?
No.
Okay, so I will read this card. Okay, so the Ozolith. This is from Ikoria. It is a legendary artifact, 1 mana. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on the Ozolith. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move those counters from the Ozolith onto target creature.
Wow, so I drafted a good card, but I didn't use it at all because I put like a donkey in or something, like 4 donkeys.
Well, fun, like you literally did a live, like with other human people draft, I think one of the very first times that you could in Arena.
Right.
When the format was brand spanking new. And I saw this card and I had no idea what to make of it. And then in the weeks that followed, I was listening to one of my favorite Magic podcasts, Limited Resources, and they rate all the cards on a grading scale. And they gave Ozolith an F. They don't think it's a good card for Limited. But
Okay.
For drafting.
Yeah.
But how do you know that, you know?
Well, I drafted it. It's a good card if you're playing a game that you could make a very focused deck. And that's why it's not good for draft, because it's like, how do you synergize with that when you don't know what the cards are going to get?
Sure.
So I drafted because I noticed it was a good card, but then but I couldn't really synergize it, so 4 donkeys.
Donkeys, whales,
crabs.
Turtles. I think you had a lot of turtles, right?
Turtles, yeah. It was like these giant-ass turts.
Yes.
Big booty turtles.
Yes. That's
big
exactly
booty turdies.
That's what it was. So the Ozolith is like the plane of Ikoria is covered in these living crystals. The Ozolith is the greatest of these living crystals. It twists and writhes, and it mutates the creatures in this world. I would like to read for you from MTG Wiki, which is a place where you can find summaries of the Magic story as it is. It says...
What?
Yes?
I need to talk about this living crystal.
Okay, go for it.
That's it. Okay, continue.
The Ozolith was a peculiar crystal formation on the plane of Ikoria, far to the north of Dranith. It was manipulated by an unnamed meddling planeswalker to influence the monsters of the plane.
It just came down. This planeswalker just came in, tickled a crystal, and left.
And we don't know who this planeswalker is.
The Wanderer.
I would love that. I don't know. It just feels so lazy.
It's like when I am improving a fucking goddamn game.
Right.
Who the store? Oh yeah, it's Chuck. And yeah, he found it at the bottom of a river.
Right. It's Mrs. Beaver.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. So this unnamed planeswalker rustled the jimmies of a crystal.
It feels, just as a preamble, the MTG story feels like a lot of other like modern storytelling in TV and film and other things.
Oh God. Are we going to talk about Gilmore Girls?
Would you like to?
Well, it's kind of like you're talking about. It's like the problem I have with Gilmore Girls. Sorry, this is now a Gilmore Girls podcast.
Magic and Gilmore Girls. It's good.
It's great. That's what the G stands for in MTG.
Lore.
Magic
a lie. Lore.
I heard you. Okay. So what I was going to say is you had somebody at the beginning of the inception of a creative endeavor, right? They're like, sure. I have this idea for the story I want to tell. I am the executive producer, the owner of the story, one of the lead showrunners, and the writer. This is my brainchild that I have, and I'm going to write a show, and I'm doing it with my partner who also is very synced up with me, and we're in line with each other.
Sure.
And we know what we want the show to be. It goes for 4 years. Mm-hmm. And then some marketing executive goes, oh, we should do this, or there's some sort of disagreement between the partners, and then, but it prints money, so we got to keep making it because we have fans, so we can't just end it here. What do we do? Okay, well, we're going to get a new showrunner, a new lead writer, and then we're going to use the same characters, same world, same everything, and then it just feels completely different. So then
Right.
you have 4 seasons of something that's very cohesive, that obviously has a trajectory of where it's supposed to be going and what it's supposed to be about and what the message is. And then you have it just go, and then somebody picks it up and goes, all right. And then basically now you have the skins of the Loreleis with some weird like puppetry happening, and it's they're just shadows of themselves.
They're pod people, right?
Yes, exactly. And so I wonder if that's what's kind of happening in the magic world, where it's like we have a main story that we want to tell, maybe, but we're a huge corporation, and so therefore we must crank out something because we've set ourselves up with these ridiculous fucking timelines. Like, I am a kind of person who I don't need to have 2 main sets a year or whatever they're doing now. It's like, just let me play. Like it felt like Ikoria came out and then immediately was M21 spoiler season.
Yeah.
Like, I played it for 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, and then boom, we're in M21.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing that again through limited resources. They have a usual rotation of a new set is coming out. They get spoilers 1 week. They do a review of all the commons and uncommons, which is their big show. Mm-hmm. Then the next week they do rares. This past week they did, here's what the set is looking like. Then they do one more episode where they're looking at the archetypes. Then they might have, like, nowadays, maybe 2 more episodes where they're filling in with some topic, and then the next spoiler season is rolling around already. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. And I just don't want subpar content or quality of things. And when you're doing stuff that fast and you don't have fully fleshed out teams, or, you know, what we talked about before with bands and how, like, card development and R&D happens, and it's like, well, yeah, you're printing a bunch of shit that, yeah, I could buy, but I'm not going to. I haven't bought any physical cards from the new sets.
Yeah, I mean, so I was going to wait to get into this for our next segment, but this is a good time to bring it up. Just as a overall disclaimer, for me personally, I've been playing Magic pretty consistently since 2006. I was actually thinking about this earlier today, where that's when I started playing, and in my head I have this narrative where I stopped playing in college, but not really. I stopped playing for like a year, a little bit more than a year. In my head there's this big gap. That's all there was. I started playing with casual jank decks. I played standard and competitively for a little bit, and then since then I've been playing with drafting, commander, cube, all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I only played legit standard for about a year, maybe a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And I've been engaged with standard as far as like the content, the cards. I keep up with what's coming out. I keep up with the spoilers. I try to keep up with the story as well. Mm-hmm. But I'm not super engaged with standard. And I know you're the same way.
Yeah, no. In fact, this household's getting into Pauper.
Right.
Like, I've checked out of standard. I know for a fact that I enjoy Commander, Brawl, and now Pauper far more than I do any other format currently.
Yeah, for sure.
Cube drafting is, you're the only person I know who's a cube, so, and unfortunately we can't see each other because of COVID, so we haven't done a cube draft in a long time.
Right. But yeah, that's how we play Magic. So just take all of that. I just want to put that out there. Take what we're saying with a grain of salt, because we don't actually play standard. Right.
I think because standard's the more, well, I don't want to say more competitive. It's not. It's just the more...
I would say it's like the premier competitive scene.
Yeah.
If you want to play competitive Magic, you're playing standard.
Right. Correct.
Right. Okay, so kind of getting back on track with Ikoria.
Tell me about those crystals.
So somebody messed with the Ozolith. It's mutating monsters on the plane of Ikoria. That's literally it. That's what we know about the Ozolith, okay? Ikoria itself is... Here's my overall. This is what I've gathered from the story, quote unquote, of Ikoria. I think that Magic is moving, or at least it's currently moving, away from an actual storyline into just world building. Right. Ikoria is the lair of behemoths. It's a world that's overrun by monsters. They mutate and change over time. You have this city of Dranith, which is like the human civilization, the last bastion of humanity, Attack on Titan kind of thing. And like there's lore about the city and how it's built and the different rings of it. Mm-hmm. There is not a storyline. There is not a story of what happened here. You and I talked about this when we were looking at spoilers, and we were looking at who are the different planeswalkers coming to Ikoria.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Vivian, and you were like, why is Vivian here? Like, why is Narset on Ikoria? Like, what does she have to do with anything?
They're just there to take a dump and leave.
We don't know.
Yeah. So I kind of like that idea, though, because, like, if you go from that aspect, like, you're just building these worlds now, you could have a lot of fucking fun with that. I was dreaming of a candy island. So you could make a candy plane. Or, I don't know, a clock plane. Or, I don't know, an office supply plane. Or
you literally just looked at your desk when you said that.
Cords and...
a green screen plane.
Highlighters. Wait, that's office supply. That's under there. I don't know. Oh, somebody in chat said, Green Strider says, wasn't Vivian on Ikoria to get more beasts for her bow? That's fucked up too.
That's what makes sense to me, but I don't see anywhere where that's established. The only thing I see, when we talked about Ikoria, we were talking about spoilers. We were looking at, there's a trailer video that just shows Vivian, she's just on the plane, and there's a giant Hellion-looking monster, and she shoots a dragon from her bow, and it attacks it, and they fight, and the Hellion mutates, and... what's happening? Why is she fighting this thing? It's not clear. That's what would make sense to me.
Yeah. But I remember specifically when they released the set, they were saying there was no story coming out for it.
Yeah, no.
Right? Like they literally said no written things.
Right. No book.
Right.
No book. MTG story on Daily MTG.
Right. Which is strange. So that means there's room for us to make a story.
See, that's... okay. Should we just get into our next segment?
I fucking guess.
We're already leaning that way.
All right, I'm playing the next music.
Once again, it's time for an academic debate between a civilized scholar and a homicidal brute. Let's begin.
All right, you can talk now.
Okay. So, where I wanted to take this...
Sorry. My music kept going. Now you can go and talk.
Sabotaged.
Sorry, I'm not good at clicking buttons.
Where I wanted to go with the rest of this conversation, which is where we're already going, is what would you like the Magic story to be like? And this is a question for the chat as well. Like, if the Magic story took the shape of what you wanted it to be, what would it look like?
One, are you talking about the overall entire Magic story? Or are you talking about specifically how they do with things with the plane, like the different sets?
Take it where you want. Tell me what you want.
I have to think about this, because for me, like, I haven't really read in a long time. And also, that's another thing. Are we talking about actual written stories, or are we talking about just the story we get from the sets?
That's a good question, because one thing I was thinking about is, emergent storytelling. So, for example, if we look at War of the Spark, we got a story that was being told through the cards, which was cool, and we got a story that was told in a book, which sucked ass.
It was not a good book.
So me personally, I kind of just want to see the entire Magic story being told through the cards. Like, this is the primary medium that we're being told everything through. This is the medium that we engage with.
Right.
I want most of the story, or a lot of the story, to be told through the cards themselves.
Right.
And it was fun to like look at the cards from War of the Spark and to fill in those blanks and make that story myself.
Right. I think that should be the primary mode of delivery. I also, like Josh, used to read the Magic the Gathering books when they would come out. Not all of them. It was like literally just like Lorwyn and Morningtide. And I can't for the life of me remember anything about the books that I read. It's been so long ago. But it was definitely like, I liked that. I mean, even with Warcraft, World of Warcraft, I read the World of Warcraft. I read the Warcraft books because I was really into the lore of Azeroth and like everything that was going on. And it was good to read an actual story.
Definitely.
Personally, I like the idea, like you were talking about how Ikoria is more of like a world building. Like just a playground, essentially. Like this is just a setting.
Welcome to a world.
Welcome to a world. This is what's going on in this world. There's not really necessarily anybody that you know, and it's just encapsulated. And maybe it doesn't even ever engage with the main line. I think you need to have one main line of story, predominantly told through cards. And it would be nice to have supplemental stories that support it, whether it be online only or book. And then I like the idea of that you have these little contained and more like short story vignettes, you know, maybe not a full story, but like I would even like, do you know those books that come out where they're like basically just like, for instance, the Star Wars ones where you just open through and it's like, it's pointing at things and like, this is the goggles of the Jedi and this is the scarf of the Sith. And these are the creatures that walk along the hillsides in the desert lands. I would like a book like that, like those eyewitness, like kids, like
a National Geographic.
Yeah, yeah, where it's like that's the setting, like, and then here's all. I kid you not, one of my friend's children. He was absolutely obsessed with dinosaurs, trains and dinosaurs, absolutely obsessed with it. And every night, she had 3 kids, and when I would babysit them, I had to read them. Each of them got a book to read. And I always started with her oldest first, because he always picked out just a dinosaur dictionary book. And it was literally like, words I could not pronounce, and he was just fascinated with like, this is this thing, and it was this tall, and it was this heavy, and it would eat these things, and 2 lines of what it did.
Rounded teeth to grind the vegetation.
Yes. So I think that would be really cool to have for stuff like Ikoria, where it's like, this is the cube crystal jiggle. What was it called? The
Ozolith.
The Ozolith.
God, the cube crystal.
The cube jelly crystal that morphs the creatures. You know what I'm talking about. I think that would be fun. A supplemental, like, and there's somebody out there like me who likes to make manuals of things, and it would be their dream job to put together the, as people are saying, like the visual dictionaries or visual guides.
Well, also
for this, plane shift books.
I don't think it would be very taxing for them in terms of a resource, because already when they're making the world, like when they're making their sets, they make visual guides and they make like references to all this shit, because they have to send this out to all their artists and be like, hey, when you design the Vidalcan from Ravnica, they look like this and they're all about this, and then you need to have this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hire me, wizards. I'm making up products for you that can sell, and you could get kids. Kids would get into this. I mean,
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, they do that to a degree. Like, the D&D side of things in Wizards has taken a few settings and made them from Magic and made them D&D settings.
Yeah.
I think you could do more of that. And along the same lines, too, you were talking about having vignettes, like, in the world.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of, like, the main story you can just get from the cards.
Right.
They have taken up a great position. I back this 100%, where they were like, the core mechanics of a given set need to be present in commons and uncommons. you should not be having the core mechanics being told just in rares and mythic rares, because not every player is going to get those. Whereas if you just buy a pack of cards, like a booster pack, you should be able to pick up on the central themes of the set.
Right.
That's a good idea. I think that's true of the story as well. You pick up a pack of cards, at least a few of those cards should be giving you hints and threads at what is the story to draw you in more. You know what I mean?
Because if you just have nothing but big butt turtles that don't mean anything other than they're just turtles that have big old juicy booties out there in the water of Ikoria. What does that mean? Do they got crystal butts? Because then that would make more sense. Anyway, sorry, you're going to say something important and serious.
Well, I was just thinking, like, that in my mind, to bring it back to War of the Spark again, I think that was the height of their storytelling, not the book. The book sucks. We all know that. But, like, everything else was great. Like, the trailer, the video trailer that came out for it, like, that was one of the most powerful, that was one of the best bits of storytelling that they did. Are you rolling your eyes at Linkin Park right now?
I don't know. No.
Put that aside. Whatever. That's fine. I was just very impressed. Like, you also brought up Warcraft and Azeroth. I've played 0 Warcraft my whole life.
Right.
But I've watched a lot of their video trailers. And I'm like, they're just so cinematic and well done and well produced. They've drawn me into that world, even though I don't even fucking play that game. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, think about me. I know way too much about League of Legends for somebody who's never spent more than... I've looked at it.
You've looked at characters. You like the characters.
I like the characters. I've watched the video trailers.
You've said it's almost enough to get you to play.
It's almost enough. It's almost enough. It's not quite enough to get me to want to play League of Legends.
That's an achievement in my mind.
Right. And then also, same along that lines, Overwatch too. Like, I love all the... And Team Fortress 2 was another great medium for storytelling. And yeah, like, come on.
I love watching... I mean, I love all those cinematics. And I get a jolt, I'm sure a lot of people do, out of watching reaction videos to them. Like, reaction videos are like a way to... Like, the thrill you get out of showing your friends a cool video, that's what reaction videos are.
Right.
You get to vicariously rewatch it again.
Right.
And I've watched so many of those reaction videos where the person watching it is like, this makes me want to play this game. And it's like, yes, exactly. You got drawn in.
Right.
So I think trailers are a big place where they need to be telling the story or like giving us pieces of the story.
Right.
Not just from a storytelling. Like, their incentive to do it is that it makes people want to play your game.
Magic.
And then I also think another thing I've been considering is I'm a big fan of the Souls games from Software, Bloodborne. I've incorporated a lot of that stuff into my role-playing game writing, where you're like leaving threads of things for people to pick up. I think that is one of the best ways to tell a story in Magic the Gathering, is leave the dots out there and then let your players connect those dots. Let them engage with the story that way. I think that's a really smart way to tell a story in Magic. Yeah? No?
Yes. Sorry, I'm just thinking about things. I'm not going to talk about them.
Oh, okay. This is a podcast, isn't it?
Well, it's just like I can't formulate thoughts around it. It's just like a lot. Like, I don't know. I'm thinking about it from a manager's perspective. Or I was also thinking about like all the things that you brought up the Souls games. And sorry, my mind was going like 5,000 miles per hour. So another thing is like I've never played Dark Souls or Demon Souls or Bloodborne at all.
I know you have.
Oh wait, I played Bloodborne a little bit, and also I did play Dark Souls once because I ran off a cliff instantly and said I'm done with this game. I wasn't immediately good at it, so I left it.
You're pretty good at Bloodborne.
Oh yeah, but it just made my butt sweaty. I can't play horror scary games. It just makes me too anxious and nervous. But anyway, what I was gonna say was, like, one of the things like I think would be really cool and be really nice is like the people who spend the time analyzing stuff. Like, what's his face who wrote the thing? I read a lot of it. I haven't finished it.
The Pale Blood Hunt.
Yes, the Pale Blood Hunt. man, they put a lot of effort and everything into it. And it's like,
yes,
companies should be like promoting the shit out of those people's things.
Yes.
Because it's like, holy crap. And so it's like, why isn't Wizards or other people like, do they have somebody whose job it is to, maybe they have community managers, but it's like, why aren't you promoting these people who are doing fan stuff for you more? Because they're truly hyping up. And I know they do it from the sense of competitive. I don't know how much they do it with like YouTubers and other people who generate content for them.
They highlight YouTube and content creators in the sense of players, you know. I don't think they highlight like Ristic Studies. Like he's a big person in the community as far as looking at a lot of the stuff that's not necessarily the game itself, but he's not highlighted in the same way that like Luis Scott Vargas is, for example.
Right.
Something you were bringing up earlier as well that I think is important here is, like with Gilmore Girls, you were saying, to bring it all back to Gilmore Girls.
Yes.
You were saying that in the first 4 seasons, you got the sense that this is cohesive, this has a trajectory, this is going somewhere, right?
Right.
And then it shifted gears because it traded hands, right?
Right.
I think that this is bigger than just talking about magic. This is all kinds of media, TV, films, games, whatever. Having a cohesive voice, having a person who has a vision, or maybe a few people who have a vision, is very, very important. Because otherwise, you wind up with this scattered thing and all of these seeds that have been planted, and nobody knows where it's going. And I think right now in modern media, we're seeing that all the time.
Yeah.
Where all these interesting seeds have been planted and no one knows where it's going. And then you get to the end and it's like, oh, it's all just a huge mess.
Right. And so I would like to compare and contrast the Star Wars trilogy.
Like the sequel trilogy?
With something like Dark Crystal on Netflix.
Okay.
The thing.
You're talking about the sequel trilogy, right?
Yes, like the one with Rey and her boyfriend and stuff like that. Yeah, whatever.
Obviously, there was no vision there.
They had too many. It's a corporate. It prints money.
Right.
You know, it's like
too many cooks in the kitchen.
I mean, I did not. Let's just say this. I don't want to say I 100% enjoyed all the Star Wars films that came out over the last few years, but they weren't like so crappy that I couldn't like
digest
be like, oh
them.
Yeah, pew pew, woo, it's it's fun.
I love lasers.
I like things that explode. But by the time you got to the third movie, it did feel very much like I gotta run this module. I have a 6-hour module I need to run 4 hours kind of situation.
Right.
Let's just get all the MacGuffins in there. And go! Let's MacGuffin time. All 3 MacGuffins. Let's go.
Right.
So, and then you have something like, I want to say, if you're a creative person who wants to work with a team and you're interested on how do you make something super cohesive, watching the behind the scenes, the making of the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance on Netflix was super eye-opening, because they had a director or a director and producer team, producers who all knew Jim Henson's like vision, right, of what it's supposed to be, plus all the original people who worked with Jim Henson back on Dark Crystal, brought them in. And they said, you are this, and that is your domain, and we trust you to make the right decisions and choices.
This aspect of the creation.
This aspect of the creation is yours. And then the writers were like, okay, we're going to go write. And they were like, okay, so we would write, okay, so-and-so characters are going to be in go down X hallway in castle. They didn't describe the castle. They didn't do it. They left it up to the creative directors, the people who are in charge of the vision of the world, And they're like, and it was perfect. It was like, we didn't meddle with their stuff. Like, they know what they're doing. We're just the writers. And the director was the same way, where it was like very much he was also shooting the film himself too. He was like the lead camera person, like doing, and it was so good. It was like one of those things where I'm like, how they did it and how fast they did it too was fucking ridiculous. And it's just because they
just
let
like the
people,
efficiency.
They just let people do their jobs. Like, we hired you because you are a puppeteer who knows how to do, and blah, 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 blah. And you are an artist who knows all this stuff, and you're a graphic designer who knows all this stuff, but here's our vision, and this is what we're doing. And it was just like very, very good. And I want to play the Dark Crystal role-playing game. I know there's one that's supposed to be coming out, or if not, it is. But anyway.
But yeah, that comes down to two things, right? There's a central vision that's guiding the entire production, and trusting the people to do the creative things.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think those are complicated principles to follow when you're telling a story. And War of the Spark, I believe, was one person at Wizard was like, let's try this. Let's try an overarching storyline over the course of several years. Mm-hmm. And it was a big deal, and it brought a lot of people in. We were super hyped about War of the Spark. Mm-hmm. You were super angry about all the Planeswalkers. Like,
yeah.
It was a big deal, and it was cool, right?
Yeah. Then it's like, where do you go after that?
It's the Avengers problem, right? Like, they do Infinity War and Endgame, and it's like, now it's time for Spider-Man fights Dr. Octopus. It's like, who cares anymore?
Well, that's what I like. I like the idea of doing the world vignettes. And
smaller stories.
Smaller things, yeah.
No, I agree.
That'd be fun.
I agree. I mean, what I want to avoid is, I think the world of Ikoria is like, it is a cool setting, but I would like to know what's going on here. I don't want to, like, they bring in Planeswalkers because people like Planeswalker cards,
Yeah.
And they don't know what to do with these characters.
Right.
So maybe this is a place to, because we're coming up on 45 minutes here.
Yep.
Maybe here's a place to close off. We're talking in chat about shows and media and disappointing endings. I think Green Strider was bringing up Thundercats. Yeah, Thundercats Roar. I don't know anything about that. But I know plenty about shows and media that disappoint. Like most people I know watched Game of Thrones and were disappointed about that. I watched Lost. I thought Lost sucked, the ending. I just finished Dark. I think Dark sucked at the end. I understand why it happens. Like, all these different companies are trying to get me to continue to invest and continue to watch their thing, buy their product, whatever. And an easy way to do that is to present me with a mystery, right? Because then I'll want to find out what happens. Okay, I get it. But how hard is it if you just make up mysteries? How hard is it to come up with a clever way to tie it all together? Right. So we have all these pieces here. How hard is it to inventively make up a way to unite it all? I thought about that a lot after watching Lost, where I was like, I obviously have nothing to do with the production, but given the pieces that you've put in front of me, I could come up with a clever way to tie all this together in a neat little package.
Right.
That's all I want. Like, a bare minimum. If you're not going to plan it out ahead of time, which you should, at least be willing to do the work to make up a creative solution.
Right. A lot to think about.
I like your pose, especially with your backdrop of your conspiracy board.
Yes! That area there needs some exploring. But because it's tied to this, who knows what may happen? I don't know. Anyway.
It sounds like we agree that we would like to see more emergent storytelling in Magic. and more smaller stories as well.
Yes. Even if it is about twins on a snowy peak thinking about dragons.
Okay. God.
I was fine with it. What's wrong with it?
Okay.
We got
final note. Hire this stuff out to people who are passionate and want to tell these stories.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I think it would be awesome. When I wrote my little bit of fan fiction for Magic, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if they just had like an official forum where people could just add stories and they get upvoted? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not canon, but it's just like cool stories told using the cards and using the information.
Whatever. Corporations.
Echo says no more twins and dragons, please. So I guess we're done.
Oh, no. We got to do... I want to make an arcade game out of it. That's the next thing I got to do with my twin dragons stories. God, I can't talk. I'm losing my brain thinking about things.
All right.
So I think we should end.
Maybe we should wrap up, yeah.
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, thank you, everybody, for tagging along in the stream or listening to the podcast. We appreciate it. We're Red Mage Blue Mage at RedBlueMTG on Twitter. I'm at Wolfmere on Twitter.
I am at Rocket Orca on the Twitter.
And until next time, I'll be representing Counterspell.
And I'm always thinking about those big old butted turtles.
Catch y'all later.
I gotta find the right music to get out of here because I don't.
If only you knew we were closing out.
If only I was ready for the end, but I wasn't. I didn't have the end in mind, and so here we are. Okay, we're leaving. Bye.